basketball in Canada, you're a guy that I wanted to talk to just because of your broad knowledge of the game from an amateur level moving up, through the ranks. I just asked Michael Grange what he thinks the next steps are logically for Canadian basketball at the youth level to develop and try to compete at some level with the United States in the next, not necessarily 5, 10, but moving forward over time. How does Canada basketball become kind of a dominant force in world basketball?
What I'd love to see, I think you have a great infrastructure here with the CIS. I'd like to see that go to a different level. A few years back when I was coaching, I know we had meetings with CIS coaches, and I actually said, what about like a Division I, where you had, say, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 teams that wanted to give scholarships, wanted to take it to a different level, and start like a Division I in Canada. Not part of the NCAA, but your own top tier level. And it was actually met with a very, very favorable response, but it just ended there. I would love to see that. I think that would be, give scholarships the whole bit. You want to give, it's getting better every year because your top tier go south, but the guys that, if it keeps getting better and better, the guys that are staying are obviously better, right? So the level is getting better, but giving kids even more incentive to stay. You have great academic institutions. Coaching you got some really good coaches. You have some great cities. Now make it something that they would want to stay and play for.
Right.
To me, like I said, you look at, say, we're right here in downtown Toronto with Ryerson. You could sell this place. It'd be a great sell. So to be able to sell it and then be more active marketing, so kids can come to the game and there'd be thousands of people at the game, I think that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The idea too that you talk about of the top tier obviously going south because we just can't offer what the schools down south offer. That's pretty logical. But talking about kind of the second tier being able to stay here and become stars. Yeah, it is. It is high quality, right?
Yeah, and some of these kids would be better off staying. And I've heard from so many kids. A lot of these kids just go for the free ride, right? And it's really not that free when you put it all together. So if you gave these kids an opportunity to stay home and a level, and you were giving them something a little bit more special than it is now, I think that'd be phenomenal. And I think you sell it just like hey. I always give the example, like when I was coming up, I was recruited by everybody, right? I was also recruited by dumpy little schools that, you're going to be the first guy we fly in. You're going to do this. You're going to meet the mayor of the city. You wouldn't believe the pitches. They tried. They really made that extra effort. If the schools here did exactly the same thing to convince kids that this is a good option, I think it can fly. I really do. And that second tier would be pretty good.
And you talk about the idea too of creating a conference, the amount of competition that's happened in the last couple of years between CIS schools and NCAA schools, and the idea of the top athletes in the OUA and the CIS being able to compete at that level. Is pretty unique to the last 15, 20 years, would you say, or is this something that has been pretty consistent through? I know Carleton's had a lot of success, obviously, but just their ability to stay relevant over a 12, 13-year period right now and be able to compete with Wisconsin's and Syracuse's and all those schools.
Well, but if you look at, there's some huge advantages here, and Carleton has done a great job of taking advantage. Dave, he's coaching those kids year-round, right? So when a Wisconsin or a Notre Dame or whoever comes to play in August, they're playing against a team that's basically been together all summer and all winter and everything. So, but he takes advantage of that, right? That's the way your rules are structured, and Dave does an amazing job of keeping these kids in the gym, keeping them playing, working on their games, and recruiting. I know personal experience with Dave, and some of the other top coaches like Dave or Roy Rand or whatever. You talk to these guys, if they're not coaching, they're recruiting. They're recruiting. They're always going out and getting kids. So that's what it takes. And so I think that some of the best programs, it's not a secret why they're the best programs. They're approaching it like an NCAA. Coaches approaching their program, and they're taking advantage of the rules, which are very, very favorable here for development. Rules in the NCAA are not favorable for development. They can't do a lot of things with players in the off season. You have limits on practice. Here, you can practice. You can work guys. You can get them in the gym. You can sell that to a kid.
Yeah. As a coach who has been in the national system and has been around CIS coaches, you mentioned Dave Smart, Roy Rana. You've been around the NBA for a long time as well. You know the ins and outs. You know what it takes to prepare game in, game out. How do CIS OUA coaches compare in their workload, their preparation, regardless of the amount of money that's spent on different processes and preparing, the actual workload and the amount of work that they do and the way that they work, Dave and Roy, compared to Coach Casey or anyone like that?
No, I mean, when you look at the top coaches, the coaches that I've followed closely, I mean, they do the work just like any other big coaches. I mean, they're watching video, they're on the road recruiting, they're making phone calls, they're scouting, they're doing everything. So they do the work. They definitely do the work. So, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, if you're willing to, get in the car, get to where you got to be, go see that kid, go see this kid, knowing that, you may have a 50-50 chance, but if you're not there, you have no chance. They do that. They pay the price for all that. And they're very, very prepared. I mean, you can't get a more prepared coach than Dave Smart. I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, Dave, you can put Dave on par with any top U.S. coach as far as preparation, all that stuff. I mean, he's right there. And there's a lot of coaches now that are seeing that, hey, that's how they're being successful, right? They're doing it. More and more coaches are doing that.
Last one for you. The sideline demeanor of Coach Smart, as someone who has coached at the national level, when you watch him as another coach, do you know the mind games that he's playing with referees, with his own athletes, and his unique approach? I assume that you've obviously seen his work. It's kind of marveled at around the OUA as it's strange to a point, but people that are true basketball people understand everything that he is doing because he is so keen on his ability to push the right buttons at the right time. And as someone who's coached, I want your perspective on when you watch someone like Coach Smart on the sideline. What do you think?
Well, that's what it is, right? It's with your players, with referees, with everything. I mean, it's not. Everybody kind of knows certain things, right? But can I get you to do this? Can I get you to react to me the right way? Can I get this official to pay attention to what I'm saying, and how am I going to go about doing it? So Dave's got a unique demeanor. I mean, everybody's got their own style, but it's definitely not just some random behavior. I mean, there's a lot of Dave does not random in any way, shape, or form. Everything he does, there's a motive to his madness, and he's had nothing but success doing it. So he's a lot of fun to watch if you really spend time taking a look at him.